Hello, I'm ABX Toycat, and Mojang just added a new piece of loot to the ancient cities that is so good that everyone is going to want to visit. They also updated the Explorer maps while adding 7 new ones, which is incredibly insane, the most we've seen added in one big batch, while also making huge changes to the swamp villages, so you're going to want to come here now, not just for the librarian trades and the mending book that everyone wants, but also for the brand new cartographer and indeed armorer trades, which will be exclusively found right here. Swamp villages are having a massive buff as part of 1.20.2 pre-release 1. That's right, this update has finally gone into pre-release, and it really consists of 2 big separate sections. One of these is the non-controversial, definitely being added side. This is bug fixes, and this is quality of life changes, which will be in the game in a few short weeks now, and the other half is much more experimental, being added as kind of the data pack features. These are ones they're working towards adding, which will make swamp villages much more powerful, because that's where you can find mending, while also making a brand new set of these maps that we're going to be talking about, while also at the exact same time making a brand new set of armor tradable that we've never seen before, at least from a Minecraft villager. It is a very, very wild time to say the least, and today I'm going to be guiding you through all of that, so please do subscribe to the channel if you like your Minecraft news and you like staying up to date with what is happening, because we're going to start kind of first things first with the brand new villager trades, which are going to be based on biome now, because previously every single villager from every single biome was exactly the same besides appearance, but Minecraft has decided to update that, and so to show you, let's talk about those trades. I am here now in a jungle village, a type of village which does not exist yet in vanilla Minecraft, but one which Minecraft really wants you to make, and so a Minecraft developer tweeted out this map with no labels on it, and it's going to make a lot more sense in a second, because Minecraft has decided that if you are going to make your own villages in the jungle and swamp, you should be rewarded not just with a different looking villager. As you can see, he's wearing an ocelot skin, which I think is pretty rude in my presence, but also in terms of the trades you'll get. You'll now be able to get different trades based on the biome for not just the librarian, which is something interesting we'll have to come back into later in the video, but also for the cartographer and the armorer. The cartographer just has a brand new set of trades. Here they all are, each village's new type of trades. As you can see, when you see it in text form, it's a little ugly, but then if we come back to that map from earlier, you can see that every village type will link you to 3 other types of village, except the plains, which only links you to savanna and taiga, and it's a really interesting way that villages will link you to the nearest village of temperature and, like a biome type, so that's interesting by itself. But the armorer, on the other hand, doesn't have an objective buff. Instead, it has a lot of new items that previously weren't possible, but also a lot more requirements. Mojang has said, yeah, if we're going to nerf enchantments, why aren't we also nerfing the armorer? And so they've nerfed the easy diamond armor that you could get from this guy, but at the same time made it easier to get certain other things. You'll see more about that later, but for now, here is the easy explanation for all of this. There are lots of different trades that you can do, including the block of iron now being possible as a way to get lots and lots of emeralds if you really do have a lot of iron, which is incredibly interesting. But for now, let's talk about each of the 7 village types and how they've changed. I'm going to show you the normal experience you get if you were to trade with a cartographer and a armorer from each biome type. So starting with the cartographer of the jungle type, as you might expect looking at this map, if you eventually trade with the cartographer, he'll eventually offer you not just, as you've seen already, these regular maps, but then eventually he'll offer you some savanna village maps as well. So if we had some compasses, which right now we do not for some reason, if we had some compasses, we'd be able to show you, so let's go back in there. If I have some compasses, I can show you that I can get a map that will show me where a savanna village is, which is pretty fun by itself, right? Oh, there's one over there, but also he'll be able to show me where a desert village is as well. If I keep trading, he'll start to show me other things, but this is a really handy way to find not just a brand new village type, so if you're looking for a savanna village because you really want one of the trades they have in it, for example, the curse of binding armor, then you'll be able to find one using these brand new maps, or if you want a desert village because you really want Fawn's armor, you'll be able to find one of these brand new maps, but also, here's the incredible bit, it will lead you to that type of biome, because think about it, you can only ever find a desert village in a desert biome, which means if as long as you're following this map to the right direction, you'll be able to find that desert eventually, which is an incredible change. I do think this is solving quite a big Minecraft problem, personally, and so yeah, that is an incredible thing. If we show you the same thing for the armorer, the jungle villager has quite a few different unique traits. So the first thing is the fact that the first level trade has gone from buying and selling to just buying. The armorer will buy your coal and your iron, and he won't give you anything else. Also, the iron trade has gone from requiring 4 iron ingots to 5. So this is a nerf on the first level, in my opinion, because you can't buy anything from the armorer until you get him to 2nd level, like I have. So let's get him even closer there right now. Let's sell him even more iron, and then show you the fact that after he goes up another level, which hopefully he will, we'll be able to buy some chainmail armor. Chainmail armor is now going to be a regularly sold thing from both jungle and swamp villagers. No longer do you have to just hope that it shows up. It is the only thing these guys will sell because they exist in a rare biome. They only sell you rare armor, is I guess the logic if I had to come up with it. Also, oh god, we have so many of these. So yeah, this is quite an annoying thing. Java trading is so different, by the way, to Bedrock trading, but that's aside for the point of this. Then we go up to this next trade, which is basically all the same things. So we'll buy a bunch of shields, throw those out as well, just have a ton of those laying around. And then, interestingly enough, at the top level, he has an exclusive set of trades. In the case of the jungle villager, he's going to give you Unbreaking, and he's going to give you Projectile Protection as potential trades. He also, Unbreaking is level 4, and he's going to give you as max level Projectile Protection and Feather Falling. This is very exciting in my opinion, because if you want to get a particular type of armor, you can guarantee you'll get it from these two villages. That is very, very, very fun. Obviously, the fact that it's chainmail limits the value of jungle and swamps in my opinion, because both these villages do that, but you can see how different trades at different levels is kind of a big deal. If we go over to the plains, for example, next, the plains villager is the most plain type you can get, because the plains village is not just Minecraft's plainest village type, but also by far the most common, which means this is going to have the biggest impact on the new player trading experience, and by god does it have quite a big impact. So as far as the cartographer goes, you can only trade for 2 types of maps, which is pretty plain I would say, but they lead you to very solid village types, so I don't think this is a bad thing by itself. It might even be quite useful, because I do quite like where both those things will take me, but when it comes to the armorer, this is huge. The first bit is it has that minor level nerf on the low level, which is you can only sell things to him at first, which is not that big of a deal, but then the next 2 traits he's going to give you are always going to be iron, which is a great way to get yourself some extra stuff. If you go up to level 4, the next traits he give you will always be not just iron, but enchanted iron, although the same 2 types, which feels like an oversight to me. It should be the opposite types in my opinion, but whatever. You can buy enchanted iron armor, and also in the plains village, it's always going to give you protection 1. This means just by trading with these villagers, you can get better armor objectively for the average survival player than you can normally get, and even better than this, the guaranteed diamond armor trade he has is also always going to be protection. However, there is a twist. That twist is that 1, you'll never be able to sell diamonds to them, and I don't think this is much of a nerf. Who is selling diamonds to villagers at 1-to-1 rates? It's a terrible trade that exists in Minecraft right now, but the second thing is much bigger, which is you can't buy diamond armors from villagers anymore without already having diamonds. That's right, you might have noticed, but the buy recipe here requires diamonds. I have 64 emeralds, which is more than enough you might say, but that's not enough to be able to buy myself these things. I need to find diamonds in the normal place, which is behind the armorer's house, and then once I have 2 diamonds, I can buy boots. So it's not actually a very good deal. I mean, it's you're getting a good deal in that it costs 2 diamonds instead of 4, but you have to spend so many emeralds just to get a 50% discount on the price of diamond boots, but then also it's enchanted, and in the village of the plains type, it's always going to be protection, which is actually a pretty valuable thing. Being able to get lots of pairs of boots and then combine them together, and maybe eventually make protection 4, sounds really, really good on the surface, in my opinion. However, I then have to say, on the other hand, actually, this is a great way of saying you can't skip the tech tree. You can't get diamond boots before you find diamonds, because you now need to trade for them. I also then think if you're going to up the cost, not just in terms of emeralds, but also in terms of diamonds, then downgrading what you get, or not even downgrading necessarily, but then making it a fixed enchantment that is bad, isn't the best look in my opinion. I think that the way that these armor villages works is much more consistent now, but also much less favorable. Going through all of this tech tree and getting a guaranteed, I can give him emeralds so I can get a discount on the number of diamonds required for boots, which are going to be low level enchantments anyway, that feels a little bit rough to me. But before we talk about what we feel about that, let's go into an entirely different village. We can do this for every single village type, obviously, but the one which I find most interesting, and I think you might too, is Snowy. So just to show you this one, the cartographer over here, it's broken, but here's what he trades with. Instead, the armorer is the much more interesting one, so we're going to trade with him over and over again with the coal, which we just have laying around here anyway, right? So let's show you what happens at level 2 for this guy. Okay, same thing happens. He's going to give you random pieces of iron armor. It looks like it's the leggings and it's the thing here. Very, very interesting, has to be said. So let's trade for a bunch of those, maybe too many of those. I do have to say, it's going to be very annoying to do trading with armorers over just one day. You're going to want multiple days to do this. Then we're going to buy ourselves some bowls, or maybe sell him some buckets, I guess is what we'll have to do. So let's quickly just find the lava bucket and then give him a whole bunch of those, because clearly that's what he wants in his life. So let's give him 1 bucket of lava, 2 buckets of lava, 3 buckets of lava. So let's see what that does for him. Yeah, he loves lava. He gives you a huge amount of XP. Then we'll do the weird Java trading thing of leaving leaving him be, and I can show you something fun that he does on the next level. So the Snow Villager will only give you 2 enchantments at the expert level. They're going to be always on iron, so maybe not worth going with necessarily. You can get Frostwalker boots and Aqua Affinity helmets. So again, for most people, this is like, okay, so we'll skip this, right, and we'll go to the next trade. You get 64 emeralds. Again, the amount of emeralds we're using here shouldn't be overstated. These are very expensive trades to skip through, but if you do skip right through them, as we have done right here, you get to the master level trade, and because this is a snow village, which enchantment do you think they give you? I just really enjoy this personally. They are always going to give you these Frostwalker boots. Oh, apparently not actually. He's always going to give you Frostwalker boots or an Aqua Affinity diamond helmet, both of the enchantments which would make sense that you would need while chilling in somewhere so cold. I like that quite a lot. Also, something that every armor is able to do now is trade with you this block of iron for 4 emeralds. Is that a great deal? No, but it's a lot better than selling, you know, 5 iron ingots for 1. So, is this good overall? I think that this is a very interesting set of changes that makes the armorer also more consistent. However, if we go and we look through the big map of trades right here, I'll zoom in real quick and just show you the fact that Savannah gives you Curse of Binding. That's interesting. The Tiger gives you Blast Protection 1. Very interesting. And obviously Projectile Protection is what you get from jungles, although it's also only going to be on your chainmail armor. But the most interesting one is the Swamp, where you can get yourself Mending on any set of iron armor right here, or rather on chainmail armor, which means that for the first time in Minecraft, it's a very bizarre thing in my opinion, for the first time in Minecraft, if you make a swamp village, you're going to get not just an interesting set of trades, but also a type of armor you really shouldn't be able to get elsewhere, a full set of mending chainmail. This is a really cool flex in my opinion. Being able to put together this set of armor just by doing something cool, it's making the Minecraft curve more interesting without making it more powerful. If you want to get a full set of mending armor, the easiest way to do it probably is to get 2 armorers together in a swamp biome together, and then also to trade with them with enough iron and coal that they eventually get up to this level, and that is very bizarre. It's opening up new options. Again, in my opinion, having all of this enchanted armor is mostly like, okay, most people just won't bother with armorers anymore, but this is a type of armor which is actually a really cool potential flex that you can now do earlier in the game. Will people still just trade with swamp villagers and get mending elsewhere and, you know, do stuff like that? Probably, but I like the idea of this one as at least a quirky thing. I also think Savannah and its Curse of Binding armor is going to present a really interesting way to make other people have interesting armor. But yeah, they're turning the armor of villagers from this very powerful thing into something which is much more precision based. Again, if you want to get, say, protection 4 armor, you have to go to a plains village and you have to trade, again, because it's always protection 1, you have to trade for 2 sets of boots together to combine them protection 2, 4 sets of boots to make protection 3, and 8 sets of boots to make protection 4. That means you're going to need 16 diamonds and 100 something, what is that, 176 emeralds? You need such an insane number of, it's way more than 176. You need hundreds of emeralds and a bunch of diamonds, and you need to trade through these levels just to make decent armor, and then you have to do that again for the leggings, again for everything else. I think this is too much. If I was to give you my honest opinion about these trades, I would say that it feels as though Mojang should probably first guarantee that the anvil too expensive limit goes away, because if you're having to repair 16 sets of armor together, 1, that's not worth it to most people, but 2, it's even less worth it to most people because you have to go against the anvil trade limits, and 2, I would say that as well as like fixing that, I would say these have to be more powerful. Make it protection 1 to protection 3. Sure, make it so sometimes you have to buy 2 sets of boots and combine them together to get the very best one, if once you do have the best armorers, but I think making it so that you get here and it's like, okay, let's start the grind here, might not be the best feeling. Even if it just went to protection 2 sometimes, that would be quite a big trade up, but as it stands right now, I think the village is going to be a really handy early to mid game. They've nerfed the early game, maybe rightfully so, but then they've also nerfed the late game, meaning this only really works out in that really weird mid game era spot. I just, what do you feel about that, Internet? Do you feel as though the mid game needs these improvements like this? I feel like it's definitely an overall, it's a good thing because it makes you want to do different things in your Minecraft world, but also at the same time, it's going to create a real big set of confusion. So is that worth it? I don't know for sure. I do like the cartography changes though. There's objectively, just finding new villages via these maps, really great. This is an idea people have had forever, and I think that is a really, really fun one, whereas this is a bit more mixed. The other thing they've done in this snapshot, it's not just change every single type of village, so there's 6 types of village, 6 types of villager trading changes, meaning that now you actually will want to have villager types from each 6 biomes, almost certainly, depending on where you're at. But the other interesting thing that they've decided, or 7 biome types, because we've got the jungle too, but the other interesting thing they've decided to do is change how enchanted books generate in the wild. Do you want to see how? If so, let's go back to the previous world. Also, is this suspicious gravel? It sure is, huh? Anyway, let's go back and look at the way they've changed structures. So between the Armourer and the Librarian, Mojang is making serious tweaks and in fact nerfs to the ability of finding certain enchanted books. This goes without saying, but then they're considering making it better to explore for these same enchantments, and so they're making it so certain enchanted books have a much higher chance of generating in some structures. If you are to go to a jungle temple and its 2 chests, or the desert temple and its 4 chests, you are now much more likely to find Unbreaking in one of those. So I'm gonna be real quick because it's broken here. There's Unbreaking 3, there's Unbreaking 1, and it's already too late. It's all gone. Okay, so as you can see, that is very exciting. Just make sure you don't step on the TNT. I think that's pretty great. I also think it's really clever that they made the Pillager Outpost have a much higher chance of generating with Quick Charge 1 to 3. This is a brand new, this is a crossbow specific enchantment, which means that in the same chest, you'll now likely find a crossbow and a really good crossbow enchantment. I think that is a very, very interesting enchantment. Also, at the exact same time, they've made Mine Shafts the place where you can find Efficiency 1 to 3, and more interesting than even both of those combined is the fact that ancient cities, which there is one of just down here below me, are now more likely to contain mending. That's right, mending is being made hard. Oh, actually, here we go. Look at this. So you're going to be finding efficiency here more often, and you're going to be finding mending down here more often. I think this is the killer loot that the ancient city needs, and honestly, I think this is the way you encourage people not just to go to the ancient city, but also not to go and farm a librarian more often, and instead say, if you really want mending, go and find some of these. They are scary places to go to, but now there's a reason to actually come here. In the words of Sark, I saw a really funny tweet. Us, Deep Dark is pointless. Mojang, mending lives there now, and then us running down there to get it. This is actually how you make the ancient city better balanced, in my opinion, and I also think there's a really fun, kind of like fitting of this in a lore way. I think that Mojang is going through a lot of effort to make Minecraft feel like a more interesting game to play. You know, the fact that each villager type actually trades for different things is they're doing their best to make it make sense. And in the same way, look at these enchantments. Having mending be down here kind of makes sense just because it's the rarest place, but also the oldest place. And so, you know, the most powerful enchantment fits here. If you go to a mine shaft, this is where you do a lot of mining. It's where they would have needed, you know, to have efficiency to mine all of these blocks to make a mine shaft, right? That's really fun. Having quick charge be in the pillager outpost makes sense because pillagers are going to need that enchantment. And then the final one is, what about the desert temple and the jungle temple? Why do they have unbreaking? I think it sort of makes sense that, like, yeah, these are old structures that have been around a while. They are not broken unless you trigger the TNT pressure plates, that is. And so, yeah, given that there's such old structures in both Minecraft age, but also lore age, it makes sense that you find unbreaking here. Or at the very least, you can just see it as a new way to look around these things. Also, why is this chest so weird? It's pointing the wrong direction, huh? This happens far too often in Minecraft. Speaking of things that happen far too often in Minecraft, this loot is incredible. I like it as on a personal level, but there is the rest of the update we still need to talk about. So all of the changes mentioned so far are technically behind experimental data packs, which means that it is possible they don't make it into the final release. I would say potentially even likely, depending on how Mojang sees the response to this. However, it's worth mentioning there is a side of 1.20.2 which is basically guaranteed to come out. One of those things is the fact that searching for items now works differently. Previously, if you typed in, say, anks, it would show you any planks that you could craft, but now if you want to type in planks or mangrove planks, you have to type in either PL for planks or MA for mangrove planks. Although it's weird that, wait, MA for, I can make acacia planks right now? Why is that showing up? That's very, that's a little bit of a weird one. But yeah, I can now type in MA for mangrove planks, and that will allow me to have the recipe for that. This is, honestly, I don't know how the Java recipe book works or why it's so odd, but one of the things I do know how to say is that in creative, if you search for, say, Tor, it will show the redstone torch and the regular torch, but not the daylight detector anymore. anymore. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are all sorts of, implications of this for speedrunners who might like to search for a pickaxe by typing in XE, which is the fast way to find that. Now they would have to type in pick and then find it from there. So there are changes and different, it does have effects on people, but also it's worth mentioning that they've updated the logos for the Ocean Explorer and for the Woodland Mansion map. I quite like this little change personally. It's a small one, but it's a good one. Also, they have introduced a lot of bug fixes. One of these is fun in my opinion. They fixed the typo in the splash text Verlet integration, had an extra R in there or was missing an R. It's very funny that they had a typo they had to fix. Also, they technically have a lot of typos in the US English version of the game because the word whilst shows up there. This is one of those US British English differences I didn't know about, but apparently some people on the bug fix thread have been very mad about, because apparently whilst is only a word in British, whereas you'd say like while. Or apparently, I don't understand it. Also, the same thing is true for burnt. You say burnt in British English, but in American English, you only say burned. That's odd to me. You also don't say dreamt with a T, you say dreamed with the ED. These are differences I genuinely never knew about, and apparently Minecraft can teach us about the fun differences we have as countries. Also, other fun differences they teach us about are the fact that the chat message from /random says, random roll, let's say 6. Does that seem right? Okay, 6 and then 1, 6 and then 2. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. Okay, Minecraft 2. What am I? But yeah, the random value would have previously said between 1 and 6 instead of 1 to 6. Also, the death message with Fawns was missing grammar. It used to said was killed trying to. It used to say, sorry, my grammar is all wrong. Was killed trying to hurt. What it should have been was killed while trying to hurt. I've always thought that this was, this was a bit questionable grammar, but these both feel accurate to me. But am I just bad at grammar, internet? Let me know. Am I bad at grammar for using the word dreamt or burnt when I should be using US English for maximum search value? Let me know. Also, speaking of fun things, regular golden apples after enchanted golden apples is now fixed. If you're curious as to what it means by that, if you previously had an enchanted golden apple, which you hurt yourself using, so we'll TP ourselves into the sky, so we'll TP ourselves like 15 blocks into the sky, or apparently everyone 15 blocks into the sky, and then we'll take one of these enchanted golden apples. As you can see, it gives me a bunch of extra golden hearts. If I then lose all of those golden hearts, as you might do if you fall through the sky a bunch of times and eat a regular golden apple, previously you wouldn't get the golden absorption effect from this, but now after this you will get that again. It's a small thing, but it's a nice thing. It's a small buff to the golden apple if you have regular enchanted golden apples, and it's a not very common one to come up, but it's nice that Mojang sees the two absorptions as not overlapping in the bad way, and I think incredibly interesting. Also, absorption is going to last for 1:42 seconds, which is great news. So those are all positive things that are coming in this update. The more controversial side is interesting to me because obviously Mojang said they were listening to feedback regarding the changes related to librarians and whatnot, but then it seems as though they, despite making a really big deal about listening, they haven't made any changes to librarians with this, instead just kind of making those same changes to other villagers. Is the plan to slowly take every villager type and slowly fix the ones they don't agree with? Is 1.21 going to have in large part a giant rebalance to villagers? Because if so, it would be like Mojang's fourth major rebalance to the way villagers work. Did they make them not powerful enough, then not powerful enough, then too powerful, and now we need to balance back on the other side? If so, it's very interesting that Mojang does go through so many nerfs. It clearly shows that people who work there, or people who are working on the things now, think that the tech tree has changed such dramatically, in such a dramatic fashion, that they think it's worth changing from the last time. Or maybe they're seeing Minecraft as a game where they want to encourage different options, even if that means weakening some things, like a little bit stronger than you might expect. It might be worth it so that you want to make a swamp village. Doesn't this thing look incredible, making giant mangrove trees, hiding your villagers inside, having to make pathways across the swamp or the mangrove swamp? It seems like a fun thing that they can encourage you to do by effectively nerfing what you might be used to. Obviously, everyone in an existing world will kind of have it stick, but is this worth doing for those reasons? Because right now, there are 3 different villager types which I can benefit from when I make a new village. Is that worthwhile? I actually think so. And so to switch gears and give you my final opinion on this, I would say that these are really fun changes for Mojang to be trying. I think even if you hated every single thing here today, you'd have to say it's a good thing that Mojang are at least experimenting, because for so long they've been cautious about taking snapshots and saying, ooh, yeah, if people don't like something, it's going to be awful. And therefore they have to have finished features that are basically finished by the time we see them. They are showing us some very early experimental features. I hope at the very least. I hope they're not finished with this yet. And based on the feedback they're requesting, they do want to actively improve these, which is good news. I think that if I was to give my personal feedback, I would say this is a fun way to increase the scope of what the average player wants to do, not necessarily needs to do. You know, besides getting mending chainmail armor, which you can still do any other way you want, you know, realistically, you have fun options to do new things, but you're not forced to do any of it here today. However, I do think that there are, you know, and I think it's also great to remove a lot of the randomness and placing and replacing, you know, like having to sit here, breaking and replacing your lecterns over and over again, or the same with an armorer. Having that be gone away is a good thing, in my opinion. But I think they're saying that, oh yeah, it's bad when Minecraft is too random, and then they're removing all the randomness. It's always Protection 1, it's always, you know, Frostwalker, etc., etc. I think they need to just say, let's have a narrower band. In the case of, you know, like, you know, right, in the case of both librarians and armorers, they're taking a very random system, which, you know, no one really loves that much, and they're making it more consistent. Same with the way structured loot works and finding enchanted books there. They're trying to take an insanely random process that people look at and go, what's the point? And making it perfectly narrow. But I think that this is a true rule of game design. Having perfect narrow fixed paths isn't as fun as a little bit of randomness. It's the rule for life, right? Like, everyone likes a life with low variance, but not no variance. Having a villager feel exactly the same every time you get to the top isn't very fun. And admittedly, you do get different pieces of armor each time. So, you know, you have to make like 3 or 4 armorers to get the leggings, then the helmet, then the boots, etc. But if some of those pieces would come with protection 2, if some of those pieces would come with, you know, like, I don't know, projectile protection 3, or just a little bit of variance in that, that would be great. You know it's going to be the right enchantment, you just don't know the level. That is a fun system, whereas the whole, it's always going to be exactly the same no matter what, just feels very robotic and feels less fun. That is my piece of advice to Mojang. People like a little bit of variance, too much and it feels like you have no control, too little and you feel like you're having no fun. It's the weird thing about life, that you figured we want to control everything we can, but we almost universally do not. And so, yeah, do you want to control everything in your life, or do you want to have a little bit of a wild time in there? Because I personally think that almost every Mojang player, or every Minecraft player, might say the first, but actually prefers the second. And I also think, therefore, using a little bit of that randomness space, which you probably should already have, to just make it a little bit more fun could be better. Also, the other thing is, it's so clear after doing all this stuff for Swamp and Jungle Villages. Are you looking to add these villages in the next update? Are you looking to add these at all, or is this just a fun way to encourage people to make their own villages? Because it just feels so much like they're saying, look, jungle villages and swamp villages would be awesome, and then just still not adding them. It feels a bit weird, and I would love to know, maybe they'll clarify more soon, but I really do feel as though 1.21, a major side part of this update is going to be village changes, just from all the things we're seeing, and the fact that they clearly want jungle and swamp villages to work and to be appealing to people, even if only for weird reasons. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm sorry for the extra long Minecraft news video. We had to cut a lot to keep it even at this length, but I think we've covered everything you need to know about this, as well as my opinion, and hopefully you've enjoyed that. I will be talking more about this later in the week, of course, because it's going to be coming out for Bedrock later on. They haven't said exactly when, and so yeah, I'll let you know if there's any differences in the Bedrock version, or indeed if anything changes from what Mojang themselves say. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into what's in the snapshot. I am not going to be the person who jumps on this is the worst right away. Instead, I would like to be optimistic about things, and so I hope you enjoy that perspective. But also, where it was saying when it needs to be said, like, yeah, no randomness at all is not very fun. Or saying things like, yeah, stop teasing us with these villages. We want them already. Stop making us having to build our own. Like, tell us if you're going to make us do that. Or be honest with us if we're never going to have it. I just think a lot of people are feeling a little bit teased by that, and that's my take there. But yeah, let me know yours. And also, come check out my live stream, which I'll be doing in a little bit, because I'm going to go cook dinner and then immediately do that. So it's probably live right now. Have fun. Goodbye. I'm gonna cook burgers, by the way. It's, you know, I love cooking burgers because you just throw them in a pan, you forget about them for 5-10 minutes, you flip them, then you forget them out again, and then they're burned, and you've got a fire alarm going off. But if that doesn't work, then it's all good. You know what? Cut this last bit, Harrison. I don't know what I'm doing myself. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. I did too many outros.